So the long and short of it is, this book is really good. This book is really good. These aren't books, they're magazines, but they're really, really good. I mean, that's the whole review. That's it. These books are really good. Jalla, have a good time. More books. More books. Did you drop the ball? I'm here to pick up the ball and give it back to you. But enough about like me putting in effort. I want to talk about books. Fresh off the shelf books that I've had. One I won on a competition, and all of this is going to be revealed later, but at least you know what to expect. So we have Skin with Lucy O'Brien, and Lucy O'Brien is a British journalist. She writes a lot of essays and collections on women in rock, including She-Bop, The Woman Punk Made Me, and I'll pop a few more below. This is It Takes Blood and Guts. Because it does. When you are in a concert with Skin, if you allow it, you are being transformed. You walk out a different person from when you walked in. Skin gives everything. She lifts you up. Skin is the trailblazing lead singer of multi-million selling rock band Skunk Anansie. Skin is an incendiary live performer who shatters preconceptions about race and gender. Skin is a social and cultural activist. Skin is a global female icon. With her striking visual image and savagely poetic songs, Skin has been a groundbreaking influence both with Skunk Anansie and as a solo artist. She is an inspirational role model who has been smashing through stereotypes for over 25 years. From her working-class childhood growing up in Brixton to forming Skunk Anansie in the sweat-drenched back rooms of London's pubs in the 90s, from the highs of headlining Glastonbury and meeting Nelson Mandela to the toll that constant touring took on her personal relationships. Skin's life has been extraordinary. In It Takes Blood and Guts, she talks powerfully about being a pioneering champion of LGBTQ+ rights at a time when few artists were out and queer, as well as her charity work with young asylum seekers and campaigning against female genital mutilation. Told with honesty and passion, this is a story of how a black working-class girl with a vision fought prejudice to write songs, produce, and front her own band, and became one of the most influential women in British rock. And loaded with everything you thought you knew, or you think you know, or you didn't know, and there were even some moments that I didn't know that I'm glad that I know, you know? I think I noticed her more when I started seeing her in magazines a little bit, and which reminds me of a moment that happened a couple weeks ago, which I'm just going to share to you. So I was in Camden, and I'm going to try my best to do a walkthrough. So I was walking towards Amy, and I went down the steps, and I found myself going around the corner because I was looking for the loo. I went to the loo, and then I came out, and there was just, I think I must have taken the wrong walk, and I was walking over these boards, and there was like wood, and if you've ever been to Camden into the stables, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I went round to my right, and then I saw all these shelves, and there was obviously some materials covering them up because the shop was closed. But it was a bookshop, and I was like, shit, this is great. But the shopkeeper wasn't there, so I started looking around, just not going through anything like that, just kind of looking around, and then I looked up, and in my peripheral vision there was this hanging magazine just there, and it was glowing and it was Skin, and this is the picture. Apologies, my phone is not the best, but the magazine cover said underneath, "My anger is my energy," or something like that, and she had this brilliant face, and it just really brought the biggest smile to mine. I'm not sure why, and it was shortly after I finished the book, so that was kind of like I don't know, it was a moment, and I really feel that I should have gone and bought it. I can't remember, I think it was like how much was it? I can't remember how much it was, but I should have gone back and got it, actually. I think now that I've said that, I'll go back and it's not going to be there, and I'm just going to be like, take a chance, take a chance. I find her music to be timeless. Her resilience to tell her stories, to show you what it was like being a young black woman growing up in Brixton. There are a lot of moments in history which kind of correspond with what she's talking about, including the Windrush movement, gentrification. She pretty much covers this throughout the first few pages. There's a moment where she is speaking to Cass, and it's a very, I think, quite one of the powerful moments in the book, where she looks at a Union Jack flag and starts riffing on the first things that come to her head. And she talks about identity and not really fitting into that perspective of what being British is. I'd always imagined Jamaica to be my real home, so it was a shock to realise that I wasn't Jamaican in the same way as mum and dad. Growing up in England, white people would always ask me, "Where are you from?" Quite often I find when people say, "Where are you from?" it's one question, but what's going on around you is another, right? So I think that was really interesting to kind of dive into as well. My favourite moments, as well as the moment where she talks about shaving her head, is a moment when she talks about being on the mountaintop and continuing to climb. How we don't need to be this stereotypical way, we don't need to be this manufactured sort of perspective which is drawn from stereotypes and everything like that. So that was really refreshing to me. I would definitely recommend this to a lot of people, especially if they're new to particular genres, especially if they aren't aware of certain moments in the UK. For my next book, we're going to keep on the theme with musical autobiographies. Why am I doing this dance? The IG account I won this from was Everyday Racism. It's a anti-racism IG account run by Natalie and Naomi. They have a book out as well, which is called The Mixed Race Experience. They have really short, very inquisitive and very informative IGTVs if you ever want to jump in and hear more about books. I feel like they really do hone in everything and make it almost like a comfortable experience. It's kind of feels like a very cozy book club, but with books that we need to fucking read. Sorry. For my next book, I have Unspoken from the Mobo award-winning artist Guvna B. Toxic Masculinity and How I Face the Man Within the Man. I really like phonetics, so I really appreciate the fact that his stage name is Guvna. I didn't just get that, I got a bag and I got a notepad, and then I got this lovely mug, a lovely white mug which says "Leave nothing unspoken with Guvna B." I've got a cup of got water in there. I'm going to read the blurb out for you. Men are brave, men are bold, men are fearless and strong. Growing up on a council estate in East London, rapper Guvna B thinks he knows what it means to be a man. But when a personal tragedy sends him reeling, he's forced to think again. Dealing with grief means digging deep, challenging assumptions, finding a new kind of strength to carry on. In this honest, unflinching memoir, Guvna B draws his own experiences to explore how toxic masculinity is affecting young men today. Unspoken is a powerful, personal account of what it means to be a man and what it takes to survive. Unspoken does present the uncomfortable conversations and obstacles and challenges a black man would face, not just within the broken system, but more an insight to the mind. And I would recommend that this, before I start opening up a little bit more, I would recommend that this book is a good understanding of mental health, of depression, of grief, and we get a walkthrough of where he lives, which is quite ironic because where I was brought up, I was pretty much like 10-minute walk down the road, which is a short walk. I say that because there's a moment where he talks about walking from Ilford to Romford, and I'm just, what he had gone through, it was really amazing to see how he kind of drives himself on the energy of hope, faith, and just kind of keeping a good morale. And I think it's really important towards when we talk about community and when we talk about coming together, he really does talk about putting aside differences and trying to do better. He talks about going through the industry, and it's not that sort of, oh, I've got lots of money, blah, 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 blah. It's never been like that. He's honest with his moments where he's fallen. He's honest with the moments that he's triumphed. And within that, he's just remained true to his self and where he's from. Religion is definitely something that, although it's misinterpreted all the time or probably used in a way to be harmful, I can appreciate the way that he's taken all the strength from his dad and his family and kind of used that as a way to do better and kind of walk down this path of not toxic positivity, not over positivity, but just honesty. He's been able to talk about things which wouldn't really necessarily be spoken about that much, and I think that's something that takes a lot of courage. I just really enjoyed the moment where he's talking about dinner and the importance of having dinner with your family, and how we take those little moments for granted. There are very, very important moments, especially when he talks about violence and how that's sort of progressed onto online and seeing videos of violence and stuff like that. And he talks about, again, what that impact has on someone, just understanding what kind of information is out there and what can we do to make sure that is safeguarded and respected, and understanding that, especially I guess around when I got this book, it was around the time of Black Lives Matter, so I think it was just that thing of understanding what is the next step. It's these pivotal moments where it's easy to kind of analyze and interpretate and even talk about online, but I guess it's another conversation when it's offline. And he does talk a lot about community and bringing community together. And this moment I wanted to read because it kind of illustrates that importance of being within a community. If we are brought up to break the law, we are most likely to break the law. If we are brought up surrounded by people turning to violence as their default, we are more likely to turn to violence as our default. Equally, if we are brought up to respect the law and respect other people, this is most likely going to be the direction in which our moral compass is pointed. Take elephants again. Elephants, like humans, are naturally sociable creatures that rely on the bonds they forge with their extended family units to navigate their passage through life. Older elephants guide the younger elephants in how to behave. When older elephants are poached for their tusks, sadly a common occurrence, young elephants are orphaned, all of a sudden lost and alone without any clue where to turn and how to move forward. With those in charge leading the way, they lose all sense of what is right and wrong, and default to running wild, attacking each other and failing to form the necessary close relationships, resulting in a whole load of maladjusted, orphaned elephants. And it isn't that different on our streets. In order to build a fully functioning society, it is responsibility of the adults to behave as protectors, steering children in the right direction, and that means the whole village, from those in charge of the loot right down to those waving an authoritative figure when kids are messing about outside their front window. When the adults fail, the young lose their way. But he traces back to his faith and the understanding of religion, and you can see that throughout. The toxic narrative comes from more than just male. It's been stimulated by headlines, by white supremacy, by disassociating or downplaying or even punching down on marginalized communities. And I think that's just something that does get overlooked when it becomes, when we unpack that. I feel like he mentions as well this moment where he talks about the Ghanaian proverb about it takes a village, and it's not really reciprocated well by the interviewer. But, you know, I think it's just something that is often the case when you have to kind of take someone's hand and guide them through it. Benjamin Zephaniah has done a perfect review right on the back of this book. This is a book of liberation. And it really is. Definitely something that I think a lot of people who have gone through grief or have gone through difficulties in life should read and should have a better understanding. Yeah. And for my last, ta-da! I didn't just get the first episode. Sorry, I didn't just get the first issue. I got the second issue as well. Now this I have landed in my lap a few weeks ago, and I've been reading this just on my days out in the park and everything. And it just gives you a closer connection to some of the performers that you've seen. I'm not going to name them all, but let's just say it's a bloody pleasure to see and to read, and I can't wait for it's such a interesting world that I'm into, a world that I've been a part of, and a world that has accepted me in my weird authenticity, and it's something that I'm entirely grateful for. So at the end of all of this, because it seems like, as well as the subject being, or the genre of this book review being about music, I think it's more about community. And I say that really emotionally If you've not heard about this person or that person, or let me be me, myself, be completely honest and just say this. I've said this before in my last video, it all depends on how much you see, and I really hope that you do not let go of the fact that although people are on TV and on cinema and everything like that, live performance is still up and running and it's still around, and I've worked with some incredibly hardworking performers. A lot of people have taught me stuff, I've probably taught them some stuff. I don't want to give too much away. I just want to say that if there's one thing that if you're not a big reader, or if you want to look at, like, if you want something to just wind down with, if you want something that's like a magazine but not your stereotypical magazine, everyone from your dreams is in these magazines. That's a rhyme. And they've given me such a refreshing outlook and a safe outlook on what the next level of performance is, and I'm very excited to have these in my hands. And yeah, get them. And one more, actually, yeah, let's end it on that.